Welcome, everybody, to an all-new episode of the Combat Sports Report here on SportsGrid. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your time as we look at everything going on in the world of combat sports. We got plenty to talk about. We got some great cards coming up this weekend. We got some fights to preview coming down the line in that PFL tournament as more and more of those matchups have been announced. But let's first get into it right now with our first guest of the show. We're going to bring him right in. Justin Joyboy Ibarola joining us right now from the BKFC, the number 2 ranked bantamweight, getting ready to do battle March 27th down there in Hollywood, Florida. Next week, he's got a big fight. This one is huge in this bantamweight division. Justin, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate your time as you get ready for this fight. Before we get into the fight coming up here against Velasquez, and before we look back at your fight against Perez, I want to talk about some of the things you've been put up on social media. There's been a lot of posts lately about over the last couple months, about how this is your dream, how you're getting to live your dream. As some people dream about kids being about a cop or a firefighter or a rock star. How being a pro fighter was your dream, and how at 19 you kind of give up everything to go pursue that dream, and look where you are now. Talk a little bit about that to us, about the inspiration to make you want this path as a career, and the things that you have done to get here. When I'm sure plenty of people were telling you, this is crazy. What are you doing? Get something else. Do a real job.
Yeah, man. I mean, so I grew up in Seattle, Tacoma, Washington, for 19 years. And, I always wanted to be a professional fighter. My first job at 16, I was working fast food at Arby's, and I was just telling everybody in the kitchen and all the customers that came in, yeah, I'm going to be a pro fighter when I grow up. I'm going to, I'm going to make it. And everybody would just smirk it off, kind of be like, oh, yeah. And, had that little sort of disbelief, as everybody does. I just came to a realization that my life wasn't going anywhere, and I just got everything and moved to Florida. Luckily, I had an uncle who was willing to put a roof over my head while I made that move and that big transition. So, from 19 to now, I just dedicated myself to becoming, the best fighter I could be and hopefully make it somewhere. And I quit a few times. I quit like 3, 4, 5 times maybe. I said, let me get a real job. This isn't for me. There's no way I can make it. And just staying patient, humble, and faithful. I just got connected with the right people, and we made this a possibility.
And like you said, you quit a couple of times because it wasn't an easy start for you. You started as a glove boxer at first, of course, and you posted about that, how you started off 1-5. A lot of people going through that in just the amateur ranks. It's one thing if you're a pro and you're struggling early on, but when you're not even up to that level, when you're an amateur and you're having your issues, I'm sure that took a beating on you, especially at that age. Talk about the struggles that you went through early in your career, and how you were able to push through that, and what do you think has changed most? Because I'm sure most people that have seen you in the BKFC, in your undefeated rank right now, he's 6-0. You're just running through people. They think, wow, this guy must have been a badass from get-go. But obviously, that's not the case. So talk to some people about, what the struggles you went through that may be going through similar things, and, how you were able to push through and how maybe they can do the same thing.
Yeah, so I mean, the biggest thing that helped me make that big turnaround is just the self-doubt and lack of confidence that I had as an amateur. I knew I was skilled. I knew I was powerful. Like, I knew I had the will to, like, take a beating and give a beating right back. But, like, I was always just unconfident, didn't really have that belief in myself. So, that's what really made me quit, because when I brought that disbelief in the fight, it only backfired on me, because I wasn't confident enough to make the moves that I wanted to, throw the extra punch that I wanted to. I was too conservative in the ring. But one day I was just like, man, this is going nowhere with the way that I'm approaching it. So I got to go in there and just not give a. I just have to not care, what happens. If I go in there and lay it all on the line and I just get knocked out, it is what it is, right? As long as I put 100% into it, I don't care about the outcome. We're going to find out if this is it for me or not. So that's what I did. I just constantly, I just embraced my fears and embraced my deficiencies, and then just attacked all those things head on. And I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to go head in first. What happens, happens, because, it's either going to go one way or the other, and we're going to figure it out.
It's funny, again, because you talk about how you didn't have self-confidence then, that all these things that have been different about you from where you were to where you are. You talked about in other interviews I've seen about being an introvert, like you were kind of a shy guy, and you weren't out there. Like, I mean, when people see you now in that squared circle, let's see, the guy jumping around, dancing, having a good time, the guy throwing out T-shirts after his win, the guy who's undefeated and lacked confidence then, but you're 6-0 right now. I saw you already got the shirts out there saying 7-0, so obviously not lacking confidence now. So what's been the big change for you to go from who you were, maybe confidence-wise, socially, all those things, to where you are now?
Look, when your back is just pinned against the wall and things aren't just going your way, you tend to just rise up from it. You tend to just just go all in and just stop caring. So, I mean, that's really all it was. Like, it just came to a point where it was like it's this way or the other way, and I know the work that I'm putting in behind the scenes, and as long as I'm doing that 100% with 100% effort, I just remind myself, you can't do anything better, and the outcome's going to be the outcome. So as long as really all it is as long as you're putting 100% into everything, you're not being lazy or you're not being unmotivated or indisciplined, things will go your way. Things will go your way, and I just feel very powerful right now. I feel really in shape. So, I just don't think Velasquez is going to get past my power in the first round.
Well, you're certainly doing everything right now, undefeated. You talked about that power. We're starting to see it more and more. I know there was, a couple early decision fights, but now you're getting more finishes. We just saw that against Perez in your last fight in December. Talk about that fight. It seemed like he was putting the pressure on. He seemed like, he was in the fight, and then what really seemed like it turned it for me was at the end of that first round, you caught him with that combo, and all of a sudden it seemed like things were different for him. And from there on, it was, your fight to finish, and you did that in the second round. You got that first knockdown, and then it wasn't over from there. He didn't even want anymore. It wasn't even like it was 3, 4, 5 knockdowns. Just he felt that little combo in the first, and then he got put down in the second. Said, you know what? Not happening. I'm out of here.
Yeah, so all my stoppages are that way. I hit them one time, and they kind of just quickly realize that kind of hurt. I don't know if I want to take another punch like that again. And it just breaks their will down, and they're just not willing to get back up. So that's the kind of power that I have, behind my punches. I've yet to knock out people clean cold, but you don't need power to knock out people clean cold. That's just timing and placement. So that's what makes me different, man. I hit these guys hard that it just breaks their will. They're just not willing to get back up. So I think when Perez felt, that triple right hand come at him with speed and with power, and just, I think he quickly realized he couldn't keep up with me. So when he took that one shot to the cheekbone or right in the eye, he was like, no way, no way.
He certainly was, and I think your brothers were there to watch you too, which was probably great for you and make it even more inspiring. I saw your post about how much you want to be a great example for them and show them what can be done, when you put your mind to it. And as you are, and you mentioned Velasquez, you had this fight coming up against him in Hollywood, Florida. He's got a 500 record, but you want to talk about power. It's either feast or famine, it seems like, in a lot of his fights. What do you have to do to make sure you get your power off without taking his and win this fight and continue to hopefully, climb up towards this title shot? I mean, I don't know where else you can go. You're number 2. You're the only one guy above you is the one with the belt. So how do you get this win, and what happens next?
He's going to fight me like he always does, and he's going to try coming with wide shots, taking my head off, and guess what? He's just going to get caught clean cold and get put down in the first round. I think he's just going to give it to me. I don't think he has the skill and precision to do what I do.
Well, we're looking forward to it. It should be a great fight. Have you talked to them yet? Do you get the title shot against Blas after this? You get the win, you get the title shot?
Let's hope so. I'm gunning for it. We're going to go for it.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing Joy Boy back in there and doing his thing. Should be a great fight with you and Velasquez. Should be a great card overall. Thanks so much, Justin, for joining us. Can't wait to watch you fight.
Thank you, guys. Yep.
That magical time of the year when everyone suddenly becomes a basketball expert. Highlight watching, mascot picking, bracket stressing. Sound familiar? Skip the guesswork with Bracket Central. Real expert picks, trusted analysis, and zero stress. Because choosing teams by mascot cuteness isn't exactly a winning strategy. Only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why?
Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
It's made every match so much more enjoyable to watch because you don't get the stinkers, right?
Right. It goes back to these guys being smart. They figured out that if I've got the hammer in my back pocket and I don't relinquish it, we can just play them straight up and win. They figured that out. So it's like, all right, now credit to the people at TGL. Like, no, we need to fix this because the hammer can change the match. And since we fixed it, you're not out of it.
The Smiley Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to the Combat Sports Report. Now we go out west and talk to our man, Shawne Merriman, the founder of Lights Out Extreme Fighting, as they have another great event coming up this weekend. A lot of great fights. Who better to break it down than the man who signs them and puts them in that cage, and that's Shawne Merriman. We bring him on right now. Shawne, appreciate your time. Looking forward to this great card. How are things feeling? How are the tickets going and everything in the sales as you get ready for another event this coming weekend?
It's good, man. I mean, as you guys know, because you've been around the sport, I mean, fight week is always crazy. You get these last-minute injuries, or maybe a fighter is just really too far off a weight, which we'll find out in the weigh-ins on Friday. But for the most part, man, everything is stood. We got a couple key matchups in this fight, man, that can have a lot of implications on where, some of these guys go. And as we talked about before, is just, having these next up-and-coming superstars, giving those guys a shot, having them fight the best against the best and go from there, man. But we feel like we have that.
And one of those guys who is obviously a superstar for you guys and an up-and-comer is your champion, Arnold Jimenez, who's going to be headlining this card, 10-3, going against Luciano Ramos. Now, he's had a great job, Jimenez, of using that experience that he has over a lot of his opponents, like he did in his last fight. This obviously is going to be a little different, where his opponent has a lot of experience, not the same winning record as him, of course, but still another guy who's been in that cage a lot. How do you think this fight is going to shake out between these two? What are you looking forward to with this one?
Yeah, at this point, we always try to have a couple guys on the card or women that has a shot at the next level, which is the UFC, right? We always try to have a couple that we believe that have the shot to get there. And Jimenez, Arnold, he's one of them. And he had a great fight. The last fight he had a big win, but as you said, he's fighting Ramos. Ramos coming down from Nick and Nate Diaz camp from Stockton, and even though he doesn't have the record that he has, but he has experience, man. I think it's going to be a lot tougher than what people think, and obviously we try to have when we're trying to get guys to the next level and get these fighters ready to see what they really can do, we try to put them against experienced guys. And we feel that Arnold may be a fight or two off from having an opportunity to go to UFC. And, another one on this card is Ashley Thiner. We talked about a little bit earlier before is, she's another one. She's super exciting. Her credentials and, just her level of Muay Thai and how many battles she's been in herself. She's another one we're looking to have around for a long time for Lights Out Extreme Fight.
Yeah, we talked to her a couple weeks ago, coming off that injury. She's excited to get back in there. Had that great, big card debut in her first pro fight. I mean, she's rare you see someone with a 1-0 record who probably has a lot more people knowing about them than, probably you'd expect, because she has been there. She's fought, right away at the top, and she's been a long-time amateur fighter, so she's been around the fight game for a long time, even though she's only 1-0. We were talking to her about her great fight and her coming off this injury and her fight coming up this week against Taylor Malden. Tell us a little about her opponent. Obviously we've seen Tyner. Tell us a little more about Taylor and what she can bring against trying to keep her rise.
Yeah, so Taylor just dropped out. Well, she's in 50-50 right now. Obviously, when we just talk about the fight weeks, right? It's always crazy because there's injuries, there's weight problems. We've had a lot of stuff happen behind the scenes. So you just hope to get to the fight as much as possible. So we're bringing in another opponent right now for Ashley that's just signed on, which should be done around about an hour today. So we get a chance to keep Ashley on. We wanted to see Ashley and hopefully it's something we can have her around for multiple fights after this one. But as you said, the reason why she has a big following, because outside of her being a hell of a fighter, she's just she got a hell of a big personality. She's I'm looking to see also what she does in the cage. She goes and win the fight, or what happens during her post-fight interview. She just has so much charisma and what she brings to the sport. Like I said, we always look to have fighters like her and personalities like her and keep them around.
We look forward to seeing her fight. We look forward to hearing what the new opponent is, and not easy for anybody, as good as she may be, to turn around and face somebody else that you're not prepped for on this long term. But we'll see what kind of fight they put together, and you can see that kind of challenge that she's got. Speaking of challenges, Devon Simons going to be fighting Joey Beatrice. We talked to Simons a couple weeks ago. Another guy, another fighter who doesn't have a ton of experience as far as record-wise, but there's a lot of love and a lot of hype behind him, and a lot of people looking at him in this fight. Tell us, is this going to be a slugfest between these two guys? We're going to see some tactical elements. What do we expect when the big boys meet up here?
This one's going to be a slugfest. I'm not really expecting this one to be super technical at all. Beatrice, who he throws these bombs, man, and he's athletic for somebody his size, to be honest. And Simons, who's coming up from San Diego, a lot of obviously me playing for the Chargers one, but also recognizing the landscape in San Diego. There's a lot of fighters here in Southern California, especially in that Southern California area. I went down and I'm going to go check out Epic, who's an amateur fighting league, and get a chance to go to their fight. But we see these up and coming amateurs that are ready to turn pro. We just hope that they're turning pro with us, Lights Out Extremes Fight.
That should be great. Those guys, don't blink, don't get up in the middle of the broadcast to go get a drink, because that might be over quicker than you get back with those big guys throwing those fists. You also have Fournier versus Escom. They're at light heavyweight. Both these guys can be some big boys and throw some big punches too. Fournier 1-0 so far from San Diego. Like you said, a lot of guys coming from there. Escom 1-3 at Oceanside.
Yeah, again, San Diego and then Oceanside, which is still San Diego. We have a lot of fighters that come up from San Diego, for one, because they got great gyms, out of there. But two, Sam is, I think he's another one that has a possibility of a tremendous career. And then we'll obviously there's a certain level of building guys, right? Like when you're just getting them going, you want to see what they got, see what their skill level is. And the more and more you start building them, their tougher opponents getting. We feel like Sam is going to be right in that envelope when it comes to that.
Make sure if you're not in California, you can't get there. Of course, you can always watch it on Lights Out Sports TV. Shawne, what else is going on with the app? What are the new things you guys are doing over there that we should look out for as well?
Yeah, we got the Rampage Rashad Evans fight for the Influencer Crossover Series. Make sure you guys download Lights Out Sports TV. But this card is stacked with Vargas Jr. is on this card, Shane Mosley Jr. is on this card. And then, Rashad Evans and Rampage get to settle an old Dukin match and a boxing match. Man, I can't wait to see it. They're good friends of mine for a long time. So you guys, that happened in April 12th. So you guys make sure you download Lights Out Sports TV. The first part of the card will be free, and we move over to the pay-per-view model. So make sure you download Lights Out Sports TV.
Awesome. Another fight we can't wait to watch being put on by Shawne Merriman and Lights Out. Thanks so much, Shawne. Looking forward to Lights Out Extreme Fighting 23 this weekend. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Which is a great place to be. Are you in the locker room, like you giving like the Any Given Sunday Inches Al Pacino speech? Are we there yet?
Oh yeah, I think we've been there. we're going to have a long talk with Rob today about the 99-199 issue from last week. Like, I just don't get how he is still employed. We got to talk to ownership about that one.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
They are a street ball team. They remind me of an N1 team, right?
Yeah.
They are street ball fast, park fast, playing in the hood. They are no joke, McNeese.
Yeah.
They can beat anybody. Well, they won 27 games as well for a reason.
It's a bracket. You trust the team to make a run. Feels good until it doesn't. And that's didn't feel good for all that long with Kansas.
Only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. That magical time of the year when everyone suddenly becomes a basketball expert. Highlight watching, mascot picking, bracket stressing. Sound familiar? Skip the guesswork with Bracket Central. Real expert picks, trusted analysis, and zero stress. Because choosing teams by mascot cuteness isn't exactly a winning strategy. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into the Combat Sports Report here on SportsGrid. Let's continue to look at fights we have coming up this weekend. We got a great stacked weekend of fights. Before we even get into some of the ones that we're going to be talking about later in the show coming up in the next couple weeks for the PFL, let's talk right now about the BKFC. We talked about Lights Out, their card coming up this weekend. Let's talk about BKFC. BKFC Fight Night Philly, Friday, 8 Eastern. This will be going off. You got to make sure you check it out down there. Going back to the city with broad shoulders for the second time. First time since Knucklemania 5 where there was a huge hit, and we got some more local flavor on this one as they get some big beefs going, some good fights. Let's break down some of the top fights right now about this Philly card coming up this weekend. First of all, you have Dustin Pegg versus Andrew Angelcore. Very interesting matchup here. Pegg, 37-year-old from Pennsylvania, so he'll have the local fans behind him, of course. 5'9", 74.5-inch reach, the former UFC fighter. Started off 0-1 in the BKFC, then won 3 in a row. Last one, of course, being against Joe Elmore. That was a great battle. But then lost to Carlos Trinidad Snake last May. So looked like he was on the rising, stars list of this division. Looked like he might get himself a title shot, then lost to the man who currently is the gatekeeper for going after that title in Carlos Trinidad Snake. So haven't seen him in a while, finally getting him back in there. There were, other things that he was rumored to be a part of. I believe he was supposed to be on that Knucklemania 5 card maybe, and that fight unfortunately got pulled. So now we get him against Andrew Angelcore. Barstow's finest, a 34-year-old boxer, 5'9", 68-inch reach, 3-0-1 in the BKFC. His last fight was that split decision win over Ruben War last April. This is an interesting fight. Both these guys are guys who've been on the show. I like their style. They've been some of the more entertaining fighters. Angelcore has been on a couple times. Of course, always talking about the things he's trying to do in the community and trying to help these kids with fighting and boxing. Haven't seen him in a while. I haven't seen Pegg in a while. Thing that's going to push me over the edge one way or the other. He's not just the skill of these both guys, but Pegg's used to fighting bigger guys. Angelcore usually 155er. So I don't know if we're doing this at catchweight. It's not listed. If it's a welterweight, either way, Pegg's going to be the bigger guy. And I think that could be the advantage here when we get down to it, when you get into the later rounds, especially as, guys maybe laying on each other in the clinch, trying to get some shots off here and there. Eventually that might wear on the smaller guy in Angelcore. I'm going to go with Dustin Diamond Pegg to get the win here by decision and use that MMA background in those clinch situations, of course. Cruiserweight, you have Cody Vidal versus Brandon Connolly. Vidal, the Californian, 36-year-old, 5'9", 74-inch reach. 1-1 the BKFC. Lost to Richardson by second round TKO last April, then beat Sims last November by second round TKO. So he's about some quick finishes here for him. Connolly, the 36-year-old fighter from Ohio, 5'9", 71-inch reach. 2-0 in the BKFC. Former MMA boxing fighter and cage boxer as well. Spent 14 years out of fighting before getting back into it with the BKFC when he returned to fight for them at Sturgis last August. He's got a second-round TKO over Richardson last November in his second fight. So 2 quick TKOs, one a third round at Sturgis, second round last November. It's going to be 2 boys that love to swing. You know, like we said, both these guys ending before the third round in all their fights with the BKFC. I'm going to go with Connolly by second-round TKO in that one to get his third victory and stay unbeaten. At middleweight, you got Johnny Garbarino, Johnny Cannoli versus Michael Jones. Of course, Garbarino, the local guy, not only had a great debut at BKFC Knucklemania 5, also got engaged after the fight. 5'10", 70-inch reach, 29-year-old from Philly. Of course, a former MMA fighter and boxer. Beat Spencer in the first round of Knucklemania 5 before getting engaged, and now he'll take on Jones, the 40-year-old from Florida, 5'7", 74-inch reach, former MMA fighter who was more of a BJJ fighter during his time in MMA, so now doing more of the stand-up. Lost his first fight in the BKFC by a third-round TKO loss to Tony Murphy last July. I mean, you're in Philly. The guy's feeling great after, his win a couple months ago. He's engaged. He's feeling good. He's got the town behind him. How can you go against Johnny Cannoli? Second-round TKO for him is how I think this one plays out. Then, last one we're going to preview before we get out of here and move on and watch these fights this coming weekend is another local guy, Travis the Animal Thompson versus AJ Craig at bantamweight. Craig, 30-year-old from Montana, 5'6", 68-inch reach, 0-1 in the BKFC. Lost his debut in the first round KO. Travis the Animal Thompson, you know him because he's been in the BKFC since it was born. Since BKFC 1, this guy has been fighting for them. 5'6", 66-inch reach. The 42-year-old is 6-6 in the BKFC. Also, one of the more vocal guys in the BKFC. You see him all the time, jumping in the studio with Brian Sosha to talk about his fights and about the product for the BKFC. The guy lives and breathes this thing. He won, a bunch of fights, a couple in a row there. He won his first one, last one, Knucklemania 5, a second-round TKO. Had lost back-to-back before that to guys like Velasquez and Reber, so some of the toughest in the division. Had won back-to-back before that, so he kind of goes up and down. He swings. He's, got that one win Knucklemania 5. It seems to be like back-to-back wins, back-to-back losses. So let's go back-to-back wins here. Thompson by second-round TKO is how I'm going with this one. The Animal cannot lose at home. You cannot let that happen in Philly, or you cannot live it down. We can't wait to watch BKFC Fight Night Philly and talk to you about it next week here on Combat Sports Report.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They are a street ball team. They remind me of an and one team, right?
Yeah.
They are street ball fast, park fast, playing in the hood. They are no joke, McNeese.
Yeah.
They can beat anybody. They won 27 games as well for a reason.
It's a bracket. You trust the team to make a run. Feels good until it doesn't. And that's didn't feel good for all that long with Kansas.
Only on SportsGrid. That magical time of the year when everyone suddenly becomes a basketball expert. Highlight watching, mascot picking, bracket stressing. Sound familiar? Skip the guesswork with Bracket Central. Real expert picks, trusted analysis, and zero stress. Because choosing teams by mascot cuteness isn't exactly a winning strategy. Only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into the Combat Sports Report here on SportsGrid. We have been getting excited for these PFL tournaments to start coming in the beginning of April. And now we're going to bring in one of the guys who's going to be headlining that first card, Jason Jackson, one of the best welterweights in the PFL, looking to give himself another stamp on his long and illustrious career and show again why he is one of the best in this weight division. We bring him on now. Jason, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate you coming on with us. This is going to be a great, a great tournament. You had a great matchup to start it. We'll get into that in a second. First, I want to start off with, looking for anybody who, may not have followed Bellator as closely as they should have. To the record that you pulled off in there, just running through guys, even beating guys, who were unbeaten at the time, champions who hadn't been beaten by anybody like Amosov. What was your time like in Bellator? How did you, love that? You had the 8-fight win streak you had there. What was it like for you those years in Bellator before now you're moving over to the PFL here?
Well, Bellator, I gained a lot of confidence and experience going against guys, that I grew up watching in MMA, like Paul Daly and Douglas Lima, Ben Henderson, so much champ that I fought, and Gracie's as well. So, gaining those experience coming over PFL, I should just translate, easily, I feel. And it's a lot of tough competitors in the tournament, but I'm gonna be scratching and fighting all the way to the top.
You certainly are. As you mentioned, all those names that you ran through, Daly, Lima, both Limas. I mean, you were certainly not getting invited to Thanksgiving dinner at the Lima household. Beat both the brothers. You beat Mosov, who hadn't been beaten before that. Ray Cooper III. You won the title for this weight class in Bellator. Now moving over to the PFL. What has the transition been like for you from fighting for Bellator to the PFL, buying them, and now you being part of the PFL? What has that been like for you to get to learn the new bosses and see some new faces and, just get a whole new lineup of fighters to face off now against in PFL?
The octagon size cage, so, nothing different.
One thing that will be different for a lot of the other fighters, but not for you, is obviously in this tournament format. The Bellator ran for a long time, that the PFL changed their regular season to this tournament format. How do you like that, the kind of bracket and going through from one opponent to the next, where you can kind of see your path going forward? Do you like that better than having to, are you used to it? You feel like your advantage in that, and having gone through Bellator before, is going to be working to your advantage, that it might not for some of these other fighters who haven't experienced something like this?
Well, it's like normal competition for me. The only thing that interests me and make me feel good is that I get to fight 3 fights in 4 months. So you have to be strategic and game. So I'm known for that. I know how to survive.
Another element to this that a lot of guys don't think of. People think of the fights like, all right, just go fight, and then whatever's next is next. But like you said, you got a finite window here, a short window that you got to get these 3 fights in, that you have to make sure you don't come out too damaged, and you make sure you're not leaving yourself open to something that could end up knocking you out of this tournament. So that's definitely a thinking part to it that a lot of people aren't going to obviously realize, having not done this before, that maybe you have that advantage. So we look forward to that. You're headlining this first card April 3rd now, down in Orlando. You'll be going against Koreshkov. This is when we were looking at the rosters before they released what the brackets were for this fight and this division. We were saying you guys, 2 of you were 2 of the tops in this division. When usually a lot of times you see bracket like this, guys are kind of, maybe the best guys are on opposite ends, so they meet at the finals. You guys are matching out right in the beginning. What do you think of that you're getting this tough opponent right out of the gates here in the first fight of this tournament, the first main event?
Well, we got to kick it off with a bang, put everybody interested, because it's on a Thursday night. A lot of people not really thinking about watching fight on a Thursday night, so we got to get the audience involved. We got to put their best on if we're coming out on a Thursday night, and me and Kershkov is the guy to set it off with. He's excited and I'm excited, and we never crossed paths in the Bellator, so now it's like, old champion versus new champ type of thing. So it's one of the best fights, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's amazing that, with how many fights both of you guys had in Bellator, you somehow never crossed paths, but now we get to see that right away here for the PFL. And for everyone who can't wait for the fight, obviously like us, there are things that they can watch beforehand. PFL putting out this Origin series that you're a big part of here. What was that like for you I saw that you went back to Jamaica, you took it back to where you grew up, and showed them where you come from. It's not just about what you're going to do in the cage. It's about where you grew up, what you were able to escape with your fighting career, and giving back to that community as well. How did that feel to be able to film that and go back to the old neighborhood?
Yeah, my mission is to, help out the people that need help. There's a lot of kids back home, would love to just have a small little area where they could go and train and enjoy MMA and, live the martial art life. And I want to be the one to, bring that back to the island. It's over there, but, get it bigger.
And how does it feel to show, more of Jamaica than most people are used to? A lot of people, obviously, when they know Jamaica, they know the, for if you're in America, a lot of people know it as, vacation, or they know the music, reggae. They know this, a lot of what, maybe the feeling and the encompassing, lifestyle is, but they might not know how tough it is for, a lot of people to get out, or the tough neighborhoods that they exist. They only know the fun, glitzy things that you see on TV and movies. What was it like for you to kind of take them back and show them, that there is more to it, and that there are people who could use the help, and that people that are struggling and that need to get out of there?
Yeah, definitely. As once you put that energy in the right area, the right direction, definitely, you're going to get somewhere. Other than, kind of get off track. You just got to stay in the right track, which is, work hard, never quit, and, hang with the good company, I guess. Not the ones that are going to do bad. So, at the end of the day, a lot of kids right now going to watch me go out there and perform, and, going to be excited afterwards what I'm going to do, because I have a dream that I have that I'm going back and helping out. People in my neighborhood, not just only kids, but everybody. Give them a place where they could, put their aggression and work out and get healthy, because I feel like that kind of missing in my neighborhood especially. So I'm fighting for my community and all the Jamaicans and everybody that's here that knows me and know how hard I work, and everybody that believe in me. I'm gonna put on, and for myself and my kids.
Of course, and you have so far. You've had a great run here, 18-5 in your career. What do you think has been the biggest thing that you have learned over these years as you have continued to fight and grow? You talked about the mental aspect of it, where you got to, make sure you're planning ahead for this tournament. What do you think has been the biggest changes for you that people may have noticed over your run in Bellator now going into the PFL? What's been the biggest changes from your early fights, your early career, your early days of the ass-kicking machine to the now moving, more improved, even better, more dangerous ass-kicking machine that you become?
The growth in and outside of the cage, the man who I became through martial art and being around the right crowd. I think in every single time I had like a learning lesson. I just came back stronger. I take it in consideration, be mindful about it, like you said, and how to move forward. So I would just say it's my ups and bounce back. Sorry.
No, we love to hear more. It's great, learning more about behind the fighter. It's not just for us on this show about, what you're going to do in there when that gate is closed. We want to know more about you, more about everything you got going on. So we appreciate that look into, what you have become, and that hindsight look that you can see, the growth that you have shown, because that could be, obviously huge for you, not just outside the cage, but in it as well. Now, as you talked about this tournament format, looking forward, kind of, planning things out for you. We look forward to seeing all that come to fruition at the start of this PFL tournament, April 3rd in Orlando, Yukareshkov. That is the main event. People have to make sure to tune in. It's going to be awesome. We're looking, and also tune into the PFL Origins. It's going to be an awesome special. They get to see more behind the scenes, more about you and where you came from, not just the fighter you are, but the man you are. Thanks so much, Jason Jackson, for giving us your time. We look forward to seeing you fight for the PFL coming up in just a couple weeks.
Thank you for having me. It was a wonderful time talking to you guys, okay?
That is the ass-kicking machine. Jason Jackson going to be headlining that first PFL card. Make sure to watch him and Koreshkov. That's going to be a dangerous fight. It's going to be a great tournament. We're looking forward to it all here on the Combat Sports Report on SportsGrid.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into the Combat Sports Report. Great to talk to Jason Jackson right there. Pick his brain as he gets ready for that great welterweight tournament that's going to help kick off that first PFL card of the 2025 tournament season. Of course, he is headlining there against Koreshkov. That one's going to be April 3rd. That card starts, the main card, at 10 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2 down in Orlando. And let's get into some more of these fights that we're going to be seeing over these next couple weeks. We'll just kick it off right away with the other weight class that's going to be part of that same card. The first one coming up April 3rd, and that will be the featherweights, 145-pounders. I mean, when we look at that bracket right there, we talked about it when some of these fighters were brought in, and we talked about it with some of these other divisions. Pinedo versus Borch right there as the first fight of those two guys. And then on the same side of the bracket, Braga versus Landu, getting a lot of the big names, a lot of the favorites in the same area. Wow, can't believe they're doing that, but let's talk about that right now. Pinedo versus Borch. Borch, 31-year-old from Hungary, living in the U.S. now, training here, 19-2 in MMA, 10-2 in Bellator and the PFL. He's been around for a long time between these two organizations. Lost for a chance at the featherweight title in 2022 to Patricio Pitbull, then sat out almost 2 years due to injury. We talked to him a couple weeks ago about his return, how he's feeling. He's chomping at the bit. He can't wait to show people what he can do once again and try to get in this tournament and do some serious damage, enough to do that against Pinedo, a former champion in the featherweight division for the PFL back in 2023, the 28-year-old from Peru, 23-6-1 in MMA, 3-1 the PFL, hasn't fought since November 2023. So both these guys had injuries and haven't fought in a while, and now we're seeing them back in there. So you have to worry about ring rust. Sometimes when you have one guy with ring rust, the other guy has the advantage. When they both have it, I'm not sure. I mean, I might lean towards Pinedo, though, given the fact that this guy has already held a title. This guy has already won the PFL. He has that extra experience. I think Borch has some great runs there with Bellator and the PFL, but still, it's going to be different when you got a guy who has that extra level of being a champion. Then, on that same side of the bracket, as we talked about, you got Braga versus Yves Landu. Braga, the 26-year-old from Brazil, 15-2 in MMA, 7-2 in the PFL. Lost to Pinedo in that title fight back in 2023, 3-1 since then. Landu, the 38-year-old from France, maybe on his last legs, maybe his last run here, these couple fights, 21-9 in MMA, 6-1 in Bellator. Won his last 5 fights before coming off back-to-back split decision wins in his last 2. So this guy's on a nice run here later in his career. He started to really find himself. I'm going to lean towards Braga, the younger fighter, the more dangerous fighter, I think. I think he has a little bit more well-rounded. He's a little more dangerous with his strikes and his ground. So I'm going to lean that way. But again, whoever wins this one goes against the winner, Pinedo Borch. So you could really have essentially a mini championship between these two fights. who goes and fights against each other and wins that side probably, in my opinion, should be champion in this division. We will see, of course, though, when things play out more. Also, in that division, you have Jeremy Kennedy versus Mobilid Habibulov. Kennedy, 32-year-old from Canada, now training in the U.S. at Couture, 19-5 MMA, fought in the UFC, Bellator, and PFL. He lost to Borch back in 2021 by decision, so not good experience against some of these other guys that he might have to face later on. He's coming off back-to-back losses last year, lost to Pitbull by TKO for the title last March, and to Gabriel Braga in November. So has fought a bunch of guys in this tournament, has not gone his way. Can he turn around that fortune later on if he makes it that far? We will see. Habibulov, the 34-year-old from Russia, he won the 2021 PFL featherweight tournament. 21-0-1 in MMA, 6-0 in the PFL. This guy is one of the more dangerous fighters that maybe a lot of people who haven't watched a lot of PFL don't know about, but this guy is one to watch out for, a dark horse in this division. Last fought in 2023, though, where he won 2 fights, so maybe a little ring rust. I don't know. I'm going to go with the guy who is unbeaten so far, of course, in the Russian, Habibulov. And then, as we said, also on that side, Nathan Kelly versus Takhyun Kim. Kim, the 30-year-old from South Korea, 10-1 in MMA, making his major promotion debut here with the PFL, going against Kelly, the 27-year-old from Ireland. 11-3 in MMA for Bellator and PFL Europe. We saw him win 10 in a row before his loss on that Ireland versus Dagestan card against Magomedov by second round in January. So these guys, you have the up-and-comer who's trying to make a name for himself. You have the other guy who wasn't the up-and-comer, who's been in that position, then lost his first fight. Can he rebound quickly, or does that help him spiral? I don't know. That one's hard to pick. That one, I think, is just the, see how it goes, and then good luck to them in the next round when they face the tougher competition coming down the line. Let's move on now to April 11th, that second card. We're going to start with the bantamweights who are going to be on that card. These guys are going to be a big part of that one, taking a big part of that main card of that April 11th, Friday, 11 p.m. Eastern main event and main card there on ESPN2 and ESPN+. Let's start at the top. Again, 2 guys who could have matched up in the finals, but now are going to face each other in the first round. And Magomed Magomedov and Leandro Higo. Magomedov, the 33-year-old from Russia, 20-4 in MMA, 4-3 in Bellator. Lost 2 of his last 3, but they were an Apache mix. So to one of the top-level opponents around, not anything to look up and stick your nose up at all. This guy is one of the best. He's one of the toughest in this division. And don't go by the recent record where you're losing to a guy who is one of the elite in this division. He's also a submission expert. Going to be a ground fight because he's going against Leandro Higo. 36-year-old, 23-6 in MMA, 6-4 in Bellator. Won his last 2 fights, but also a lot of wins by submission. A guy who likes to go to the ground. So these go one or 2 ways. Either we're going to get these guys rolling around on the mat and see who can, snap the other one's neck or leg or whatever and get the submission and beat them in that way. Or they're going to say, you know what, we're both good here. Let's just swing. If you're going to stand and swing, I think that favors Higo a little more. But if you're going to go onto the ground, then I'm going to go Magomedov, taking that one and moving on. You also have Sarvajan Hamidov versus Jake Hadley. That one is going to be the winner of that faces the winner of this one. Hamidov, 27 from Tajikistan, undefeated, 16-0 in MMA, 3-0 in Bellator. Those 3 Bellator fights won 3 different ways, so he's well-rounded. Mostly decision wins before he got to Bellator, as we said. Toughest opponents he faced, he found a way to win whichever way he had to. Hadley, the 20-year-old from England, is 11-4 in MMA. He fought in the UFC and Bellator, and it's coming off after a UFC stint where he lost 3 of his last 4. Had a nice long run there, but not success in the recent year. This is going to be a step up for Hamidov, of course, with his undefeated record going against Hadley. Going to be a tough opponent, but I'm going to roll with the undefeated fighter despite Hadley having some tougher opponents in his belt. Ciaran Clark versus Kasum Kasimov. Russia versus Ireland here. 16-1 for Kasimov, undefeated in Bellator, 2-0, 9 wins by submission. 10-0, undefeated for Clark, all in Bellator, mostly submission by decision. So again, another situation where we could have a lot of ground fighting between these guys. And then Ali Taleb versus Zenzawi Ruiz. Ruiz, the Spanish fighter, 12-3 in MMA, 1-0 in the PFL. Only fought in 2022 for them. Talib, the champion of PFL Mania last year, coming over now, stepping up into the PFL. Could be a guy to come in here, sneak, and get some wins that people don't expect. I'm rolling with Talib in that one.
That magical time of the year when everyone suddenly becomes a basketball expert. Highlight watching, mascot picking, bracket stressing. Sound familiar? Skip the guesswork with Bracket Central. Real expert picks, trusted analysis, and zero stress. Because choosing teams by mascot cuteness isn't exactly a winning strategy. Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
It's made every match so much more enjoyable to watch because you don't get the stinkers, right?
Right. It goes back to these guys being smart. They figured out that if I've got the hammer in my back pocket and I don't relinquish it, we can just play them straight up and win. They figured that out. So it's like, all right, now credit to the people at TGL. Like, no, we need to fix this because the hammer can change the match. And since we fixed it, you're not out of it.
The Smiley Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into the Combat Sports Report here on SportsGrid. Before we get out of here and wrap things up, I want to intro you to another show that's going to be coming up. We talked about with Jason Jackson, the PFL Origins, this great show they're putting together, kind of a preview of everything. You go behind the scenes with these guys, get to know them a little more like we love to do on this show. It's not about just the fighting for us, it's about the fighter. And you get a lot of that with the PFL Origins. And the first episode is going to be coming out next week, starring Jason Jackson and his opponent. Let's see what we got here with the trailer that it just came out with.
Take me serious. I'm a man on a mission. I'm a Jamaican monster.
Этот бой будет интересен тем, что я считаю, что у нас обоих такие непримиримые темпераменты.
I don't back down. And I'm the one to win this.
С тех пор, как я выиграл титул, очень сильно изменился. Я правда.
Jason Jackson has just smoked the defending champion.
I'm better than him. And if I was around, he would have never been champion.
Здесь все привыкли следить за своими словами и отвечать за них. Русский менталитет.
I'm just thankful for everybody that's in front of me. I just want to say, work hard, never give up. It's our tiger. Can feel it.
Proud of you.
Great trailer right there, and can't wait to watch the full show. Jackson versus Greshkov. See behind the scenes of those two guys. They're going to be dangerous, and in the top set division, whoever wins that fight might have a good shot at winning that title for sure. But before we get out of here, let's talk about the women who are also going to be on that April 11th card for the PFL. You got, of course, at the 125, you got Taila Santos versus Juliana Velasquez. Another situation where two that could be favorites to win it now facing off right away. Santos, of course, 31-year-old from Brazil. We saw her last losing to Dakota Ditcheva last November in the PFL tournament, made it all the way. Former title contender in the UFC and PFL, 22-4 in MMA. Loves to knock people out. 10 wins by KO, TKO, 8 by decision. Velasquez, a 38-year-old from Brazil, 13-3 in MMA. Bellator PFL fighter. Long time, she lost 3 times to Carmouche. Long-time contender for that Bellator belt. Couldn't get it. Can she get her hands on the belt here in the title, marching down this, murderer's row of women at 125? I don't know. It's a tough fight. I got to lean towards Santos. Liz Carmouche versus Laura Joan on that one. Joanna, 30 from Brazil, 12-9 in MMA. Bellator and PFL fighter, lost 3 fights in a row before beating Shauna Young last December. Carmouche, the gorilla, 41-year-old from California, 22-8 in MMA. She's the one who held that Bellator title for a while there at this division. I just see her on the other side of the bracket. Obviously going to be a big favorite for this one possibly, and maybe one of the last runs for her at this age in her fighting career. But big wrestler, grappler, can neutralize what a lot of her opponents can do. I'm rolling with Carmouche in that first round. On the same side of the bracket as the Santos Velasquez, you have Wantani and Bishop. Bishop, 39-year-old for California, 7-2 in MMA. Started out 7-0, but then lost 2 fights in a row to Talia Santos and Dakota Ditcheva last year. Most of her wins are by submission. She's going to fight Watanabe, the 36-year-old from Japan, another veteran, 13-3-1 in MMA. She lost 2 fights to Liz Carmouche, including her last fight last June, but has wins all different ways, very well-rounded. I think that she's going to win. And you heard our guy Ian Park last week say she could be a dark horse to take this. It's going to be a tough second-round matchup for her if she gets by her opponent Bishop, but still, she can do it. Alora Dana versus Diana Avsaragova. Avsaragova, the 26-year-old Russian, 6-1 in MMA, 4-1 in Bellator. Most of her wins are by submission. Unbeaten before losing to Justine Kish in December of August 2023. So hasn't fought in a while there. We'll see what she does coming back. And Laura Donna, the Brazilian, 7-0 in MMA, 4 wins by submission. This is going to be her first fight in a major promotion. So is it going to be the newcomer that gets in there and starts to make a name for herself? Or is it going to be the Russian who's already been here and used that ground game to try to, take her opponent down and neutralize her and get the win? That one's going to be tough. I'm going to say the Russian gets the win in that one, and then we'll move on and see how that goes. But thanks so much to all our guests for coming on the show today. Thanks so much, Jason Jackson, for coming on and talking to us, the PFL welterweight. Thanks so much to Shawne Merriman, the Lights Out founder, talking about his card coming this weekend. And BKFC number 2 bantamweight, Justin Joyboy Ibarrola, talking about his fight coming up in Hollywood, Florida next week. A lot of great guests, a lot of great talk about things going on in the world of combat sports. That's what we do here on SportsGrid. We'll bring you more of that next week. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you again this same time, this same place here on SportsGrid on Combat Sports Report.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.